Hi, this is Bobby Baggio, and I'm here to talk a little bit about effective virtual communications. How do you communicate effectively in the virtual workplace? Well, there's certainly no shortage of devices and no shortage of apps and no shortage of ways that we can contact people. One of the challenges is too many touch points, confusing touch points, too many apps, too many different ways of reaching people is not good. Louder is not better in this environment, and more is not better in this environment. One of the things that it's important to realize is the importance that emotions play in the remote workplace. Everyone wants to belong. Everyone wants to feel like they're part of their tribe, their people. They want to have a common language and a common understanding, and a common set of procedures and approaches that make them feel like they're part of a collaborative community. Common touch points are very important, and probably the most paramount thing in a detached remote work environment is trust. And how do you establish and develop and keep trust in this environment? Communications. How you communicate, when you communicate, and having clear channels of communication, having a structure when you communicate, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, having clear policies for your organization, communication policies. When you're at work, this is what we do. So let's take a look at effective virtual communication in the remote workplace. The single biggest problem with communications is the illusion that it has taken place. George Bernard Shaw. If that were ever true in a face-to-face environment, it is really true in an online environment. So what's the key to effective virtual communications? More sure isn't better, and louder sure isn't better. Emphasizing things in capital letters and making them bold and putting them in yellow and green and red doesn't make for effective virtual communications. Start to think about emotions. Your emotions and how your emotions are influencing how you communicate and other people's emotions. That impacts how they perceive that communication, how they take that communication in. Here's a few things that will help with effective virtual communications. And you'll notice one word here, in common, no pun intended, but common goals, getting everybody's buy-in, to have protocols that everybody knows and understands, to have common objectives in your communication and expectations, to use common language. You know, it's important that everybody knows what I call where true north is. You know, everybody has the same expectations for the meeting. Everybody understands the language in the meeting. Watch things like acronyms, specifically if you have an audience that may not understand everything you're talking about. And then common measures for communication success. Trust is everything in this environment. And one of the things that's unique about the virtual environment as compared to a traditional face-to-face environment is because it is detached, it is much easier to break trust, and trust can be broken much more quickly. It's also more difficult to reestablish trust in this environment. So you want to make sure that there is trust, that everybody's on the same page, that everybody understands that common mission, that common goal, and is headed in the same direction. So you want to have trust in your other team members, wherever they are on the globe. Trust in leadership, that leadership is strong, that leadership has your best interests at heart. And then trust in the technologies. It's important that the technologies work and that they work relatively seamlessly. So, more technology is not better. Having technology that everybody knows how to use, that operates smoothly, that's really the key to effective communications. Over communication in this environment will lead to burnout. So there have to be boundaries put on communications. More communicating, it takes up time, more apps, more emails, more devices, more screen time. All of that stuff will lead to cognitive, emotional, and just plain human burnout. Effective virtual communications take effort and affective communications, which means it's very important to communicate not just facts and figures, but to be aware of people's emotions. We'll talk a little bit more about this in this series, but it's important to listen between the lines and really understand what people are saying from their heart. And it's also important to reach out to people with personal communications, not just facts and figures. Where are your employee policies regarding virtual communications? How do you interface with your workers? Are they written down? And this is important for clear expectations. Are people expected to respond to an email that they receive at 10:30 at night? Do those policies cover things like email, social media, texting, video chat, any other kind of apps that you have or that you use? You need to be very clear on what you use for business and professional communications and what you don't use. And then are there boundaries on these on the usage? Where is it written down? Are workers aware of it? Are they clearly written and easy to understand? And do you have a sign off? Do you have a sign off that you will not take the address for that video conference and paste it out on your Facebook site? There are other issues here: security issues, compliance issues, privacy issues, and whether you're, an elementary teacher dealing with COPA or a higher ed professor dealing with FERPA or a healthcare professional dealing with HIPAA, you need to be aware of the laws that govern this workplace as related to privacy and security when it comes to communications, because it's digital and everything is written down. The book Touchpoints is available out there on Amazon. It has wonderful exercises and case studies in there for leading teams and groups into understanding how important it is to communicate well in this environment, and how that really does enhance performance in the virtual workplace. I thank you very much. Glad you could join me. Hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.